Let's tackle the double crochet stitch. In this example, we're going to do a small swatch of 10 chains. So we're always going to start with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 10. So it's a simple yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we've got 3 chains so far. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 chains. Make sure to lie your work flat so you can see where the front is. So where those V's are showing, that's the front of your work. Where the bumps are, that's the back. Now with a double crochet, we need to create some height here in order to match the stitches. So with a single crochet, we only chained 1. With a double crochet, we need 3 chains to create the length of that stitch. Now what we want to keep in mind is that the 10th chain here, that's the bottom of our first double crochet. So we've already got 1 chain there, so we need to chain an additional 2. 1, 2. So these 3 chains are going to represent a double crochet. So every time you get to the end, you're going to have to chain 3 to start a new row. So this is our first double crochet technically. So now we are going to go into the next chain, which should be the 4th chain from the hook. Remember, you never count the loop that's on your hook. If you're unsure, make sure to count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So into that stitch, we are going to do our first official double crochet. So how that works is that we must yarn over first. So in a single crochet, we did not do this. In a double, we will yarn over first. Once we've yarned over, we then insert our hook into that 4th chain. We yarn over again and pull through. We will now have 3 loops on our hook. At this stage, we will yarn over again. We will pull through the first 2 loops only, leaving us with still 2 loops on the hook. We then yarn over again and pull through the final 2. That gives us our first official double crochet stitch. So what's happening is we're pulling through 2 times. So therefore it's called a double crochet. In UK terms, they call this a treble crochet. And I suspect it's because you're yarning over 3 times. Whereas in the US terms, we focus on how many times we pull through 2. Let's do this again. We will begin with yarning over first and then inserting our hook into the very next chain. You'll yarn over again and pull through, giving us 3 loops on our hook. Okay, sorry, my camera's a bit wonky right now. We will yarn over again and pull through only the first 2. Whoops, careful not to split your yarn. Leaving us with 2 loops on the hook again. We will yarn over and pull through those last 2 to resolve the stitch. Now don't worry about that first chain 3. It looks like it's really kind of rounding out there. As you continue to build your work with more rows, this will straighten itself out. So that first chain is actually the bottom of the stitch, and that will straighten out there, which you'll see at the end of the row. So let's do this again. For a double crochet, we always yarn over once first, identify the next chain, insert your hook, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops only, leaving 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull through the final 2 loops. This gives you a fabulous double crochet stitch. Okay, so it's definitely a little longer, a little higher than a single crochet. So again, yarn over first, insert to pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So pause the video and do this all the way to the end, and I will meet you there. We'll talk about how to turn around. Here we are coming up to the end of our row. So, oops, we are going to do our final stitch here. Make sure to really pay attention not to confuse your slip knot as thinking it's a chain. This is the knotted end here. So we've got one more chain there, okay? So you will yarn over, insert your hook, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So make sure to count that you've got the right number of stitches. Now is the time to be doing the unraveling. You don't want to get 10 or 20 rows up and have to pull your work apart. That would be a real pain. So just double check. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Remember, the top of that chain 3 is your 10th stitch. Okay, so now we want to continue on to the next row. So here we chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's going to give us the height of the double crochet. Now we turn our work. Okay, so we will yarn over and identify the second stitch from the base. Okay, so remember this first space here, we do not want to double crochet into that. This is the bottom of this stitch. So we go into the next one, which is this one here. Okay, so after you've yarned over, you're going to insert your hook, go right through that full stitch, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there you have it. And we'll do that again, yarn over, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So there you go. So it's sitting, see that chain 3? Sitting very nicely on top of that last double crochet from the previous row. So that's going to start to square off quite nicely. So continue to double crochet till the end, and then we'll talk about identifying the top of the chain 3 here to make sure it stays nice and even. So continue to double crochet all the way to the end, and I will meet you there. We are coming up to the end of our row. So we can see that this second last stitch, actually, we can identify it quite easily in here. So we're going to do our regular double crochet, yarn over, insert our hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the other 2. So there. Now, to the untrained eye, that looks like, oh, great, I finished my row, but you haven't. Because if you count your stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you know you're missing one. So remember that chain 3 we did at the beginning? Well, that represents a double crochet. So we're going to have to find the top of the chain 3 is right there. And if you're ever unsure, you can turn over your work and you can see 1, 2, 3, and that is the top of your chain 3. So if I flip that over, that sits right there. Okay, so we will proceed to yarn over, and then we make sure we find the top of that chain 3, and insert our hooks, pull through, yarn over to pull through 2, and yarn over to pull through the last 2. We now have 10 stitches in row 2. And again, feel free to lay your work down. Sometimes you just need to smooth it out a little bit. So you can see it's starting to take shape. So the edges are starting to straighten out a bit. So let's do another row so we can really get the gist of this process. So we're starting a new row. So before we do that, we need to chain 3 to get our height. So we have 1, 2, 3. We will turn our work, and now you can really see that that chain 3 sits on top of this double crochet here. Okay, so we are not going to go into this first stitch here because that's the bottom of our chain 3. We're going to double crochet into the next stitch. So we yarn over, insert our hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so again, that's one sitting nicely on top of the next one. So we're going to continue along in row 3. And again, you can just keep going with this for lots of rows. You can do 20 rows, you can do 80 rows. You can make a scarf strictly out of double crochet stitches. You can make a hat even. You could make a blanket, like some really simple things. You can just do it by double crocheting and doing rows and rows and rows. So here we are, we're coming up to the end again, just about. So we have our second last stitch. We yarn over and do as we usually do, pull through 2, yarn over to pull through 2. So it's really kind of taking a nice shape. And double crochets work up quicker because they are taller stitches. So lastly here again, chain 3, so you can kind of see where they are now. Yarn over, and we just want to identify the top of our chain 3 right there. Insert our hook, pull through there, and proceed as usual for double crochet. Pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then, of course, if we're ever uncertain, you want to count our stitches. Don't worry so much about this one. Obviously here what happened is my chain 3, I chained it too tight compared to the gauge of the other. So that's why sometimes that's going to happen. So actually this is a great example. You want to try and keep your tension as consistent as possible. But I just want to make sure again I have 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That chain 3 counts as 1. So there we have it. That is your double crochet stitch. It's really pretty. You're going to find it in so many other things like the shell stitch, and especially once you start doing things like granny squares and working in the round. This is a very, very popular stitch. So I recommend you to do lots and lots of these. Again, make tons and tons of rows. Maybe do a scarf to start off with. Really practice this stitch, get comfortable with it and confident, and then you can start really working into some neat and creative projects.